All right, so we have Emily on here. I'm so excited. Will you just kick us off and just start with telling your story, how you found out about this business, and what it's done for you and for your life so far?
Okay, hi. Sorry if my lighting's not the best. I'm in my bedroom right now because my mom is staying here with us and she's
Aw,
like in
no, you
our
look
spare
great.
bedroom. Okay, cool. So, sorry, what was the question? My name, sorry,
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah,
you
what?
broke up.
Tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us like how you found out about the business, how long you've been in, and what it's kind of done for you and your family.
Okay, so my name is Emily Wirsing. I've been in the business for 4.5 years. It'll be 5 years in October. So when I first started, I was 21. I was a broke college student and I was very much in debt. Honestly, my story is very, it's just for me, I just jumped right into it, honestly. I saw one post from the person I enrolled with, and I got started immediately. I knew that I was struggling and I needed another option, right? So I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I knew that I was in a position where I needed to move forward, and I was just ready for that. I was ready for it. So I jumped right into it. And long story short, it's done amazing things. I mean, we've been able to I paid off $30,000 of my student loans, which I had some student loan debt free. Felt amazing. It's been great. That was one of the first like surreal moments of my business, is paying my student loans off. And then after that, I had a car that I was putting oil. My car was overheating. Like, I was driving to school and work and my car was overheating, so I had to put oil in it weekly. So I got a new car. That was like the second thing that I was like, okay, this feels really freaking good. This feels really good. And then after that, my boyfriend at the time, we moved into our first apartment. He was paying for everything. And I was like, babe, like, I was like, I don't know if I can help with much, but I'll pay for like some groceries. So after that, I was able to really bring in an extra income to pay for, splitting everything with him, if not more. Right. And it started building up, like, over time, and then we moved into our first home. Actually, I think it was 2 years ago this month. So that happened, and then I bought a second car. I'm just like, I'm really into cars. You guys, I don't know if you guys relate to me in any way. Like, I'm not really big with material things like clothing or like makeup and all of that, but cars, they just get me. I don't know why. If any of you are with me, let me know, because that's just me. And then we started paying off Aaron's school debt, and now, so we're supposed to get married in June. So it's been a huge blessing, the fact that I've been able to pay for like 80% of the stuff that we need to for our wedding. I don't know if it's going to happen right now, but still very, so grateful the fact that we're able to do that. So whatever happens, it is what it is. But it's just being able to wake up every day and not have to stress about being able to pay my bills on time. Or when I graduated college, it was like, I have 6 months to figure out how I'm going to pay my student debt off, and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to pay my bills. So it's funny because this business, I joined it for an extra $500 a month just to help me out through college, and over time it grew and my why grew, and now it's just changed into so many amazing things. So yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. Hang on. Let me switch the screen. Okay, so I love that part of your story. I love that. I can relate to a lot of that too, because I didn't jump right in. I definitely waited for a long time. I was like, I don't know about this. I'm like really nervous. Like, I don't want to say yes. I had so many fears and hesitation. So I'm different from you in that way. But once I joined, I jumped right in. I was like, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to figure it out along the way. I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm going to make it work. And that determination is what kind of got me here too. And being able to pay off debt feels so good. I wrote that in the chat, but I love that you talked about paying off debt. It's so important to be smart with your finances in this business when you start making the money, because you want to spend it on all the fun stuff, but really make sure that you're doing the things that you join this business for, which is financial freedom and paying off debt as part of that. So I love that you included that kind of in your story. And I have a list of questions here that I want to go over with you, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. But one thing, well, a side note, I'm just curious about this. What day in October did you join?
October 20th. So
Oh,
it was close to the month end.
okay. I was October 15th, but the year before. So I was curious if we had the same date. Anyways, um, so how do you stay motivated when so you probably have been in this business, like obviously you've been in for a while, so you probably had to rebuild at some point. Maybe something kind of fell apart a little bit, or you've had people quit on your team, and then you've had new people join. So in the middle of that, how did you stay motivated whenever you had to rebuild or build stronger, or getting through the tough times? Maybe there are people on here who they have only been in this business for a couple of days, and they're experiencing maybe some of their first setbacks or their obstacles, or maybe they haven't yet, but we know that they're going to come across those, and it's not a bad thing. It's something that you're going to learn and grow through. So what do you do in the midst of those times?
So for me, it's funny because I'm shy, right? But I love psychology, and I love studying how people work, and I love how we all like react to certain things, how we learn different things, how we work together, which is sociology, whatever. I don't want to get into it, but that's what I studied in school, and I love it so much. So ever since I joined, before I joined, I studied criminology in school. So just to give you guys a little background of it, and I just like am addicted to learning, right? So that's a small little extra blessing that I have. I always used to say that I came into this business with no experience, but it's over time I realized that we all have strengths that we don't realize that we have for this business, because there's many things that we do in it. And one of the strengths that I've had is learning about people, wanting to learn more, how we work, how we talk, right? How we overcome things, right? It could be many things. I don't know if any of you have studied psychology in here, or even if you didn't go to school for it, maybe it just intrigues you to learn about how people work. So that was me, and that's still me to this day. And the biggest thing was self-development. And that's something I talk about all the time, because I did it, like I said, even before I started this business, right? So self-development is so crucial, and it comes in many ways, shapes, and forms, right? It's not not a sorry, it's not just about, I cannot speak, learning how to stay positive, right? It's about learning how people work, right? And learning how business works, right? Because we're a business, y'all are business owners. Give yourselves a pat on the back. I don't know if you guys know that, but y'all are business owners, right? And for me, I never had any of like business experience whatsoever. So when I came into it, it was tough for me. And I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I was super negative when I joined, and I was negative because I was hard on myself. And so, if I didn't get the paycheck that I wanted, or if someone quit on my team, which happens, and it's so normal, it happens to everyone. I was upset. I got discouraged, right? And I'm like, I don't get it. Why do people not want it as much as I do? I really I couldn't understand that, right? And that's where self-development comes in, right? You have to grow your mindset. You guys have probably heard this a million times, and if you hadn't, I cannot talk, I'm sorry. If you haven't, this business is 20% skill and 80% mindset. And it is so freaking crucial. It's so crucial, guys. It is. I hear people all the time, and I hear this. I don't know if you guys have heard this too, but I'm sure some of you had, where people ask, why is there a smaller amount of people on the top? And I say, what industry, what business, the NFL, right? The NBL, sports, whatever it is, in any type of business, a CEO, there's always going to be a smaller amount of people on the top. Why? Because there's a reason why 1% of the population makes 99% of the money. And it's only because that 1% is willing to do what that 99% is not willing to do, right? And don't let that scare you. Don't let that scare you whatsoever, right? Let that motivate you, because listening to me, listening to Morgan, seeing Morgan and what she does and all that she has done, seeing top leaders, we've all come in from the same position that you guys have. We all started from the same position, right? We're literally the same. Like, I'm sitting in my bed right now. I'm sitting in my bed. You know, we're all human beings. So if you have the motivation and you want to strive to be better, give yourself some grace, because you are already above. You're already ahead of most people in this world, right? So you have to give yourself grace, like I said, and stay positive, and know that some people are just not meant to be here, right? And when I first started, I didn't realize that, and I didn't understand that, and I couldn't be talking about this today if I didn't, listen to trainings, listening to Zooms, didn't work on my self-development, didn't focus on what business is all about. So that's really it. And sometimes people are like, so you like just listen to videos and you just learned how to do this and that was it. Easier said than done. True, but I do it every single day. I listen to as many successful people as I possibly can. I go to conferences, I go to events, and I learn and I study and I take notes and I try to understand as much as I can how other people are doing it. And that's really it. It's just about growth and taking it day by day. And like I said, believing in yourself and just embracing it.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And it's so true. Like, I mean, whenever I first started this, I didn't know what self-development was. I had never done that before. If you're somebody and you're like, I've never heard of self-development until just on this Zoom, I was today years old when I found out about self-development, or you're like, yeah, before this business, I'd never done that, put a 1 in the chat, because that was me. And so you're not alone, but don't do what I did, which is join the business, hear people talk about self-development for the first year and a half or 2 years of your business, and not do it because you just still don't think it's important. That's what I did. And don't do what I did, because I guarantee if I had done self-development the first time people had told me, I would be further along than I am right now, which is okay, but I wish that I would have done self-development. And what that looks like practically is these Zooms are really, really great. They're something that you should be getting on, and I'm proud of every single one of you for doing it, but it's technically business development. This isn't technically self-development. Does that make sense? Because some of it is self-development within that, but we're giving you tips on building your business. And then if you're listening to, like I listen to sermons, or like I read my Bible, that's spiritual development. So self-development is different. So self-development for me every day looks like listening to a book on Audible, and listening to, maybe somebody who owns a business, or somebody who has a business mentality, maybe somebody who's in network marketing. I can drop a couple whenever she's talking again. I can drop a couple of my favorite authors in there if you want to look up those people. But that, or listening to like a podcast. My favorite one is the Craig Rochelle Leadership Podcast. That one's really good too. So if you're not digging into self-development, then you're going to miss out on all of the things, because it's going to make you feel discouraged and frustrated when those things, like Emily was talking about, when they happen. You're not going to have that ability to just be like, it's fine. But she grew into that because of the self-development that she was doing. So that is so crucial to your growing and to learning and to staying with this business long enough to see the fruits from it. So the next part of the questions that I want to ask you is, what is the importance of sharing your story? I've watched your posts since probably whenever right after you joined. I love reading your posts because you share your story. You talk about your life though too. Like, I feel like I know a lot about you. I know your fiance. I know his name's Aaron. I know what he does for a living. Like, I know all these things because you do a really good job of sharing that. And so, how do you share your story? Why is that important to do every single day? And then how does that help you stay confident in posting in your videos and your pictures? Because I think a lot of people think like, well, I'm not an outgoing person, I'm kind of shy. You are that way, and that's great. Like, now you can kind of explain maybe to people who think that they can't do this because they don't want to put themselves out there, how you were able to kind of overcome that.
Okay, so do you guys know the color personalities? I'm sure like a lot of you do. Who is a yellow on here? I want you to comment in the chat. Who's a yellow? Let's see. All right, I got a lot of me's. Red, yellow. Love it. Okay, so I'm actually I'm yellow first and then I'm red, but like I'm like really close. I'm like on edge. I'm off by like a few percents. Um, and it's funny that you asked this question because it's probably one of the hardest things for me to explain because I still struggle to this day and it's just my personality. And I'm going to say the word embrace many times because I've been saying that word my entire life because as a yellow, we a lot of people, I'm not saying just, all of you guys who say you're yellow, it's sometimes hard for me because I overthink things. I tend to, me personally, I tend to put other people first over myself and other people's emotions over myself. I tend to overthink, well, what is Susie and the other 50% going to think about this post or what I'm going to say, right? And also what comes along with that is I've struggled with anxiety and depression for a while now, and that's something that was hard for me to talk about for a long time. But you grow with it and you embrace it, right? So I'm not saying if you relate to me in any way, like you need to do it right now, not at all. But over time, I learned that talking about your struggles is the most important thing, right? I can tell you guys that I bought my dream BMW car and I am absolutely obsessed with it. And I would invest any kind of money into it. But and I'm like so happy talking about it. I don't know why it gives me I have like goosebumps. I don't know why I love cars. I love it. But if I'm like posting about that, sure, maybe some people relate to it, but not as many people are going to relate to it than if I were to talk about the fact that I was struggling so much with the fact that I was in debt and I was paying my bills late and I was waking up and going to bed stressing about money. Like, and as a yellow, again, it's frustrating because it's hard for me not only to talk about it, but it's hard for me because I don't want to put people in a situation where I'm calling them out, and I've been there, guys, like that overthinking, that anxiousness, that worrying that I'm gonna upset other people. Do you guys get where I'm at? Some of you are probably like, no, not at all. Like, I'm so red. I'm gonna like call it out. Like posting for me has been um posting for me has been hard and it's still till this day, guys. Like, I'm not even kidding you. If any of you have seen my post, I'm gonna tell you right now, if it probably took me a long time to write it, but I know that it is very, very, very important. And just like Morgan said, seeing my post, she knows about my life, right? So it's taken time to really grow through that. It's taking me a long time. So if any of you can relate to that, which I know so many of you can, you're not alone, and it's okay. You'll get through it. You'll get through it, right? So I mean, think about it. I'm talking to you guys, I'm telling you my real life. I'm telling you, you know, how I was with struggling. And not only that, um, I've had, people who join. I don't know if some of you guys may be new or some of you have maybe been in the position I am, and you probably will, where I have people come to me and they say, well, I don't have the success that you have right now, right? How do I post about that? And that's not what it's about, right? You want to talk about what you're going through now. You want to talk about what your goals are now. Right now, I'm talking about how it's a struggle, and I hate to bring it up, what we're going through right now, what the whole world is going through. And it's a hard time for me and my family. My mom is living with me right now because she has to, because of her situation. And I'm inviting her in. It's been tough. And I've been talking about that, right? I talk about how my fiance is a police officer and he's going to work every day. And it's driving me absolutely insane watching him leave. It's already hard for me to watch him leave, regardless of what's going on in the world. Now it's just double, right? And I'm posting that, right? But it took me a while to learn and to be confident in how to do that. So again, if any of you guys feel that way, which I know some of you are, give yourself some grace. It's going to take time, but you need to relate to people, right? People are going to relate to struggle way more than the success, but you need to also find a good balance. You should totally scream in the top of your lungs in your post or in a live if you want to. um, what your goals are, what you're going for, and what you're going to do. And that's what is the most important thing. But, don't overthink it with posting. The most important thing is just doing it. That's it. It's just doing it, just getting a post up, talking in your story, posting your story, talking in a live. Again, it was very hard for me to do a live. I did a live the other morning about my coffee, and I thought I was going to absolutely die. That's just me, but I did it, right? So it takes time, but over time, you're going to get it. It's just, again, just doing it and figuring it out, figuring it out as you go.
It's so true. Oh my gosh, that was so good. If you learned something from that, put a 2 in the chat, because that was life. I know that's totally a different perspective than anything I would have explained it as, because we're different people. Emily and I are totally different color personalities. She's a yellow and I'm a red, and I couldn't care two flips what people think about me most of the time. So I'm like, just do it. Like, I don't really care. But for those of you who do have that same feeling that Emily has, hopefully that encouraged you. Hopefully that helped you just to feel like, you know what, I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to say these things. I'm going to claim it. I'm going to talk about where I'm at. I'm going to share my struggle. And it's not easy to share your struggle, but I love what she said about people can relate to your struggle more than they can relate to you, doing all of these cool things, like more than they can relate to you traveling and, doing all the fun stuff, although that's fun to talk about too. And you want to share the hope, but you can also talk about the real life stuff that's going on, because that's what people want to know, is like, that they're not alone. And people buy into you before they buy into the products. They buy into you before they buy into this business. And it's not a gimmick. That's not what we're talking about, but we're saying, like, if you can get people to relate to you, if you can get people to emotionally connect to you, then they are going to want to join with you. They are going to want to, hang out with you, because they're like, oh my gosh, I have the same struggles that Emily has. And maybe I have a husband, boyfriend, fiance who's a police officer, and I get what she's talking about. And I need an extra income that she says that she has. I want to do this business with Emily, and so that's something that you have to just continue to do. And the more that Emily's done it, she's gotten better at it. Neither of us started out like, here's how we share our story and we're really good at it. Like, it's something you grow into. And I've talked to a lot of you, and that's why I wanted to talk about posting. I've talked to a lot of you one-on-one this week about things you're struggling with in the business. And a lot of you were like, posting. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to say. And so hopefully this helps you just to feel like the pressure's off. There's no specific thing you have to say. It's whatever's on your heart. And the more you do it, the better you're going to become. So if you feel like you're not that good at it, especially do it, because you're going to get better at it. You're going to learn how to do it. You're going to learn what to do, what not to do, and all of that stuff along the way. So grow as you go. And that's my best advice to you. And I love what Emily said.
Can I share something else really quick?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I had a really big aha moment recently within the last couple months. And we all have different strengths and weaknesses. Our weaknesses that we have, it doesn't mean that we're bad at them or we shouldn't do them or we shouldn't focus on them, of course. But if you have a specific strength that you have, work harder with it. So for example, for me, I know that I can sign any customer or any distributor if I'm talking to them one-on-one, right? For me, I have full confidence in that. And a weakness of mine is public speaking. But I still do it because I know that I need to do it. And I do it because I need to lead by example, whether I get on stage or I do a Zoom. I don't know why it's hard for me, but of course, every time I do it, I do get better at it, right? So that's a weakness of mine, and that's fine because we all have them, right? And one of the biggest aha moments I had was I would compare myself a lot. I would compare myself to other leaders, other people in this business, and I would see one leader doing 1 million lives. I'm like, oh, well, I should do 1 million lives, and I'm like, I try and I've done them. And I said, I did one the other day about my skinny coffee really quick. And it really truly wasn't bad. as bad as I thought it would be. It was great. And I actually signed a customer from it, but I didn't feel like truly myself, right? So when as I'm learning and as I'm growing and I'm getting advice and I'm doing things, I really focus on the task that I'm doing and what is a strength isn't something that you are just necessarily good at. A strength is what literally makes you feel stronger as you're doing it, if that makes sense, right? So we're all different, right? And the color personality is great. But a book I wanted to share with you guys, it's completely changed my life. So it's called Now, comma, Discover Your Strengths. It is so freaking good. It's pretty cheap. I think it's like maybe $20 on Amazon. You get a code in the back of the book and you can actually take a test, and it's basically the color personality but on steroids, and it's opened my mind tremendously, right? So if you're someone who like relates to me, maybe you're comparing, like maybe I should do lives or maybe I should do more of this or do more of that. Try it, because I've tried all of it and I do all of the things still. But I want you guys to focus on what literally makes you feel stronger when you're doing it. All right, that's it.
No, that's so good. I love what you said because it's kind of the same thing. Like, I never realized that, but also, it kind of relates to what Megan said whenever we were doing a Zoom with her, a couple weeks ago. And she was like, being an introvert or an extrovert, like being an introvert doesn't mean that you're quiet. It means that you feel energized when you're by yourself. And I never realized that. So it's the same thing, like what you said, a strength isn't necessarily what you're good at. It's what makes you feel strong when you do it. Even if you aren't that good, like you feel strong. So I love that. That was really good. That's probably like my aha moment so far. So I like that a lot. Because it just, sometimes I'm like, this is what I love to do, but I suck at it, but I love it. Like, and maybe that's how y'all feel too. Do more of that because it makes you feel good whenever you do it. And the more you do it, the better you're going to become. Okay, so let's talk about what the typical day looks like for you. And I know every day is different, so I kind of hate when people ask me this question, but I'm going to ask it to you. What does your typical day look like as far as what do you do for the business? And I know that your days now probably look way different than they did whenever you started this business. For me, when I joined, for those of you who are brand new on this or whatever, I joined this business 5.5 years ago when I was working 2 jobs, 65 hours a week, and going to school full time. And my days looked very different working this business than they do now because of the freedom that I've earned from this business. I've been able to, quit all those jobs. I get to work work from home full time. I get to do this whenever I want to. So my days look different now, but the things I do now are the same exact things I did then. They just look a little different. So I always say date the model, marry the mission. The mission is the same. Your goal is the same. The things you do every day are the same, but the model is going to change. The way that you get them done each day may change versus depending on if you have school, if you have work, if you have homework, if you have online school, all this, COVID stuff going on is changing everybody's schedule. So the way you get things done is going to look different, but the mission is still the same. So Emily, what does your typical day look like? Your non-negotiables, your list of things that you do?
So, I don't have kids. I'm gonna start off with that. And so every day for me is extremely different. And if anyone has kids on here, unfortunately, I can't give you the best advice because I don't have children. But what I can say is my days are extremely different every day because of that, because I don't have a set schedule. And yes, it is great, but you need to have some crazy self-discipline, and it took me time. And that's why you have to self-develop, guys. Do y'all remember when I talked about it when I first started talking? Like, I hate the word motivation because you need something to motivate you. Like, you can't just say like you need to be motivated, or how are you motivated? It's not because like I just have motivation. It's way deeper than that, right? And every day when I wake up, some days are different. Some days I get 5 hours of sleep. Some days I get 8 hours. Some days I sleep for 15 hours and I don't realize it. And I'm like, crap, this is not okay. But maybe I needed it, right? So before I get into what I do, I heard this from Kelsey Thornton, and it's literally been stuck like in my brain the entire time, and it's just so silly but so awesome and so simple. Before I get into the task, if you don't do something a previous day, or for example today, let's say you didn't get up X amount of stories that you're supposed to be getting up every day, which I hope you guys have, because it's like month end right now. Then don't do the same mistake. Don't make the same mistake that you did today, tomorrow, right? Just don't repeat that same mistake. If you didn't get up, or if you didn't message X amount of people that you have on your task list today, don't make that same mistake that you made today, tomorrow. Right. So that's one little tip that I heard from Kelsey, and I'm like, that's so simple, but it's so true. And it starts with that simplicity. Right. So every day, you know, it's funny now because we have host to post, and we had host to post years ago, but it wasn't as popular as it was now, and it was definitely a little different. But host post in other terms is referrals, right? So I've always been doing that since I started, but mainly I've worked my business 99% on Instagram all the way up to ambassador, right? And then after that, I wanted to change. I felt like I needed to change. Something needed to change. I just felt that in me, and I felt that throughout my experience too, but it wasn't as dramatic as it was after ambassador. But again, I've always used Instagram. It's been amazing, but social media is, if you master one social media and you practice it every day and you do it, you can work with other ones and you can figure it out. And the main advice I can give you guys, because what you do may not work for me and what I do may not work for you, is you just have to talk to people. And that's what I do. My best advice when I talk to, my distributors or other people I talk to, and they ask me like, what's your best advice on rolling? I say, just talk to people, right? Stop being so task oriented and be goal oriented. So for example, if you guys have a checklist, right, and it's message 100 people, right, on Instagram for being a product model, product tester. I'm just gonna like give a random example. Instead of saying messaging 100 people, focus on focus on your goal. Instead, say, I'm going to get 10 to 15 new numbers for potential loyal customers every day, right? And same with distributors, right? Potential distributors. And it's obviously a little different for posting. But as far as talking to people, I really emphasize that for my everyday task, because that's really mainly what I'm focused on. Some days, I always have, I always get up probably 5 to 15 stories, but some days, I probably maybe get up 5 stories, but it doesn't mean I'm not working as hard, right? It's a lot of the back work for me personally, because I know that if I'm getting a bunch of numbers, if I'm talking to a bunch of new people, I know that I'm putting in the work, right? And that's for me what is the most important thing. So I'm always messaging on Instagram. I'm always posting on my story. I'm always talking to people. And I just started using Facebook. I think probably I started a year ago, but I really took it seriously maybe like 6 months ago. So right now I enroll 90%, 95% of my customers on Facebook. So I love the both of them, but I use posts on Facebook now. So it is a little different. So I don't know how much you want me to go off on that or how in depth you want me to go, but it has changed a little bit for me, but I still use both. I still do the same tasks. I'm still reaching out to people every single day and having new conversations. It's just what you said, what I'm doing precisely has changed a little bit.
Yes, 100%. Because I was just telling a lot of people, what I used to do was Instagram, like 110%. That's like where I got everything from. And I think that was kind of like everybody for a while was like Instagram was the hot thing. And then now post to post is really where most of us are enrolling people from. And it's just cool to see the difference. And like, we didn't have live videos on Facebook when I joined. We didn't even have Zoom whenever I joined. I'm a freaking dinosaur in this business. Like, we didn't have any of those things. We didn't have stories. So if the things that we do look different, but I love what you talked about with the goal setting. I was actually talking to Julie yesterday, and she was asking, you know, what my goal was for how many people that I message and things like that. And I told her what you said, and I talked about that in the power hour. If y'all were on that with me this morning too, I was like, set a goal for yourself for today, set an intention, decide what your goal is. And maybe that's, you know, getting these host to post up. And if your goal is 10 host to post up, you may have to message 30 people to do that. You may have to message 55 people to do that. But if your goal is this, then you're going to know that you did the work. And the workload may look different every day, but you have to make sure that your output is what you want, because at the end of the day, if you message 50 people and all you're doing it is to just pat yourself on the back and mark it off of a list, but you didn't get anything from it, it's not actually building your business. So you have to make sure that you have these goals set where you can attain, like you can see that you did them and then attain something from it. So I love what you said about that, because it's a different perspective. Most people are like, well, I message 50 people a day and I do this. And what I'm realizing is that that's not the best thing always to do, because it's hard to say like if that actually is beneficial for your business. So if that was something that was an aha moment for you, drop a 3 in the comment, because that was something that I don't even know where, like maybe I learned that from you or in the Zoom, or maybe whatever, but I was like, that's huge. Like, you can't just say message 30 people. And who wants to like message and be like 1, 2, 3? Like, I'm a blue. I like to have fun. That's not fun to me. But like, I'm also a red, so making money is fun to me. So whenever I get a host to post up, I'm like, yes, let's go. So that's more fun to me when I can actually see those things happening. Okay. What are your best tips for new distributors? It's a really broad question, but basically somebody just joined a week or less ago, maybe, or a couple weeks ago, and they're working on getting their shopping spree. Some of them have already gotten it, but some of them are still working on that. If they're working on getting their shopping spree, what are some things that you wish you would have known your first couple of months in the business as far as mindset? And what are some tips that you would give them to start enrolling their first couple of customers? Obviously, we're getting them doing host to post, we're, you know, taking them through the training, but what are some practical tips that you would say, you know, this is where I got a lot of my customers, this is what I'm teaching my team?
Okay, so the book that I told you guys about Now Discover Your Strengths, one of my strengths I got was learning. So some of you may not relate to that, but I love learning. I don't know why, because I never enjoyed like going. I didn't enjoy like being in school, but I enjoyed the learning aspect. So when I joined this business, that was me. So we all work differently, right? So if you're like, I'm nothing like you, I don't really care about like learning. I already got Morgan saying the opposite. It's like, so you need to figure out your why. You need to write it down. You need to look at it. You need to write it down a million freaking times a day. You need like nothing. Okay, we grow up and most of us are used to working a 9 to 5. We're getting paid hourly, right? We there's a coin that's put in us, not in us, but like we get a coin, we work an hour, work another hour, get another coin, right? And it's so different with what we do. We need to be self-disciplined. So what is going to motivate you? What's going to inspire you? And you guys have to figure that out from the beginning, because it's crucial. It's crucial, right? So let's say, you know, I have a new distributor who joins me. We talk about that, and that's something that you really need to connect to, and it's something that you need to connect to emotionally, even if that sounds super corny to you, right? So you need to figure out how much money you want to make. We all join this business for an extra income. That's it, right? At first, right? We join this business for extra income. Do you want to make an extra $300 to $500 a month? Do you want to make a full-time income? Do you want to make 5 figures a month? Figure that out. Write it down. Whatever comes to your heart, whatever's driving you, write it down. Make a dream board, like journal it, whatever it is, but you need to have that vision. And that's the most important thing. This is my reds coming out right now. Like my red's coming out. I'm like super awkward in between my yellow and reds. You guys are going to have like a weird transition with me. Depending on what we're talking about. But my best advice is that's the first thing that you guys have to do. And then after that, it's really embracing it, trying things, right? We talk about host posts, we talk about messaging, we talk about posting. It's overwhelming, right? Take it day by day, do different tasks each day, get on Zoom trainings, right? It's funny, and I always talk about this. It's like, when your mom has ever told you something, she's like trying to teach you something, or your dad, and you're like, yeah, whatever. You're like listening, but it doesn't connect to you. You're like, yeah. And then, you're talking to a friend or another family member or whoever it is, and they kind of tell you the same thing, but in a different way, or maybe even the same way. And you're like, oh my God, I get it now, right? Who's with me? Like, comment like a 1 or something. Like, who's with me? You're like, okay, I know my mom. I've been saying this a lot lately. I don't know why. Maybe because it's my age, maybe because I'm getting married. I don't know what it is, but it's like, or maybe because my mom's living with me. I'm like, it's so crazy. It's like everything you've said to me, I'm like getting it now. And it's really the same thing with this business. I'm not saying that everything that your enroller, your sponsor is going to tell you you're not going to listen to, of course. Hopefully that's not you. But a lot of your aha moments are going to come from Zooms. They're going to come from trainings. They're going to come from self-development. That's why you need to be on these. That's why you need to be learning and growing, right? And again, I said this before, a lot of the things that work for me may not work for you. A lot of things that you love I may not love, right? So you need to figure out what you love. You need to be using the freaking products. Who's using the products here? Who's like obsessed with the Skinny Brew? I'm like so obsessed with that. I used to be, when I first joined, I was like, are you drinking Skinny Brew right now, Morgan? Oh my God, savage.
I literally
That's
never
amazing.
gonna go to sleep tonight.
That's amazing. The girls used to make fun of me because I would go to Starbucks like 2-3 times a day, like obsessed, right? So when we came out with the keto coffee, I was like, let's go. When we came out with the Skinny Brew, I was like on another level. But you guys have to, if you're new on here, you have to find a product and you need to fall in love with it. That's like key, 100%. If any of you are on here and you're like, I'm having trouble signing people or I'm a little stuck, that's one crucial thing that you need to do. Any product, it could be anything. It could be one product, it can be 10, it can be 2. You need to find the product and you need to actually fall in love with it, right? And once you do that, you become a product of a product, and your business you'll start to see a very nice incline of your business, 100%. And then after that, you need to just, like I keep saying, it's just taking it day by day, doing the task, talking to people, focusing on goals more than tasks, right? I don't know if I went off in another direction. I think you were asking me about newbies and your best advice for tasks. I know you said it was broad.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. If you have anything else to share, you can too. But
yeah. Wait, I have something.
Okay.
Sorry. Something that's very crucial if you're new, especially, is passive prospecting or marketing and active prospecting and marketing, right? I'm going to make this as simple as I possibly can. When you first join, active and passive are very different, right? So on one end, you can decide to be posting on your page and your story. You can decide to do an advertisement. You can decide to do a live, which is great, right? Or you can decide to start talking to people. You can start calling people. You can start messaging people one-on-one, right? Reaching out to people personally and having these conversations. So if you don't understand passive and active, just YouTube it, right? And you can find like a quick little video, but it's very important and very intriguing. But most people, when they're new, they're afraid to do that calling. They're afraid to do that one-on-one messaging and talking to. But my best advice is, if you want to jump into it and you want to have quicker results, you have to do those things. creating a relationship and talking to people one-on-one is very, very, very important. So know that if you're someone who is new and you want to jump into it, you want to get your 6LCs, you want to get your $50 cash bonus, you want to get that $15,000 bonus, start focusing on talking to people, calling people up, right? Everyone's home right now. Trust me, I'm sure anyone would love a phone call right now or a text from a random friend. This is the best time to do it, right? But doing those things that may be a little scary to you, that's the best thing that you want to do right now, and it's gonna pay off. So that's what I want to say quick.
That's so good. That was like really good, not obvious tips. I feel like we miss those things. I feel like we just are like post, message, follow up, and those are all super important. That's part of the active, marketing that you talked about, but it's also falling in love with the products. Like if you're not having fun with the products, if you're not enjoying them, if you're not seeing the results, if you're not working on your own goals with the products, people aren't going to want to do this with you. You're going to be more excited, and that's going to show when you're using these products, when you're excited about it. Whenever I'm thinking about like new excited distributors, I just immediately think of Jacob, and he's like not really new anymore, but he's always he has this video on it, so I'm laughing if you're looking at him. He is so excited all the time. Just got boxed for Ruby today, but people have come to him and the team and they're like, Jacob, how long have you been doing this? Like, you've been doing this for so long. And we were FaceTiming the other day and he was talking about that. I was like, it's just because you're excited, and people they're attracted to that. They're drawn to that because he's excited. He loves the products. He loves the business. And that's why people are wanting to join him, and that's
the energy.
Huh?
It's the energy.
Yes, and that comes from falling in love with the products. That comes from getting close to people like this on these Zooms. So kudos to you for being here tonight. That is the things that we miss sometimes when we're thinking about new distributors. When you started talking about passive and active, one thing that made me think of is passive and active, like making passive mistakes or active mistakes. And so one thing that Craig Groeschel says in his leadership podcast, he said, I'd rather you make active mistakes because you're out there working and trying all these new things, you're messaging, you're failing forward, you're messing up, and you're trying new things, you're growing as you're going. And I'd rather you make active mistakes because you're getting the work done than for you to make passive mistakes because you're sitting back and overanalyzing everything. So don't be somebody who makes the passive mistakes or does the passive marketing. Get out there and talk to people. Make the ask. That's what Cami and all of corporate says. They say, make the ask. Just do it. Get out there and talk to people, because the worst thing they could say is no. The best thing they could say is yes. And you never know how many people, like, your next yes could be your very next rock star. Your next yes could be the person who changes your business. So go out there and think of it that way, because if you go into it like messaging or talking to people and you're like, they're probably just going to say no too, like, then you're not going to have fun. You're not going to be excited about this. But when you think of it like, wow, my next rock star is out there and I might find them today, and you think of it that way, how much more excited are you? Like, some people are like, bye, go in a message, BRB. I'm going to go talk to some people, because you're pumped up and you're like, yeah, that's true. Like, your next rock star is out there. And so whenever you're doing these things and you're getting started with this business, you may not know what you're doing, and that is okay. I don't even know what number we're on, so we'll just start back at 1. Put a 1 in the comment if you are like, yeah, I had no clue what I was doing whenever I started. Because maybe and these people that are putting a 1 in here, they've been in for all different periods of time. But what I'm trying to show you is none of us knew what we were doing. None of us knew a clue about what we were doing whenever we got started with this. So it's okay. And so, oh, Danny's on day 2. That's awesome. I'm so proud of you for being here. My girl, Michaela, she's brand new too, and she's on here. So, woohoo! So anyway, there's so many new people on here. There's so many people that have been on here for years. And either way, we didn't know what we were doing. We just got started, and we're here because we just kept going. So you're going to hear no's. And if you can expect those speed bumps ahead of time and just know that they're going to happen, you're not speaking them over yourself. You're being positive, like what Emily was talking about with self-development. You're doing those things too, but people are going to tell you no, because people tell people in the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A no. They say, do you want a large fry with your large sweet tea? And you say, no, thank you. They don't throw their headset down and walk out and they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to quit. Like, people tell them no, so people are going to tell us no too. It's just part of what we do. When you can expect those things ahead of time, you can adjust and prepare for that speed bump so that you can just glide right over it, versus hitting that speed bump at 60 miles an hour with no seatbelt and hitting your head on the roof of the car and you're like, whoa, what just happened? If you can expect the speed bumps ahead of time, then you're going to know these things are going to happen, and it's okay. It's part of what you're doing, and it's just going to help you grow into the higher version of yourself that you were meant to be. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that makes sense. So I don't want to put you on the spot because I also hate this question too, but I'm going to ask you, what's one last tip or just like thing that you want to leave them with, just maybe like an encouragement or something that you're sharing with your team right now, just like a theme that you're like, okay, let's do this to end the month, or just any last, I'm trying to like draw it out so you can think a little bit longer. Any last little words or tips?
So I'm going to bring up again what's going on in the world right now, because I feel like, I mean, we're literally all going through it. And although sometimes I don't like to bring it up, it has to be brought up sometimes, especially in our business right now. And I mean, that's something big that everyone is talking about, right? I have many people coming to me about it and asking me, like, are we going to be affected by it, right? Or I'm struggling in my situation. And I want to let you all know that, one, you're not alone, right? And two, we have exactly what people need and want right now, right? So, you know, before I continue, I want to thank any of you guys who are first responders here, who, you know, are nurses or work in a grocery store, or have to be at work right now, because that we are just so blessed for you, 100%. And, you know, we couldn't do it without you, seriously, you know. But having an opportunity like this and having you guys all here with us together, working as a team, literally as a family, coming together and helping change the world in a way that we're not used to. You know, we haven't, most of us, you know, I'm pretty young. I'm 25. I've never been through something like this, and it's not the easiest thing, but what is easy for me is knowing that I have an opportunity to help someone. I have an opportunity to help offer products to people, right? To help them be healthier, and to help them lose weight, to help them have more energy, to help them get through, you know, what we're going through right now. And we have an opportunity to help people make an extra income, because so many people are going through a hard time right now. So I mean, again, this is something that I've been talking to a lot with my team right now, and it's all about perspective. We have choices here, right? And we always have choices no matter what is going on in our lives. And you have to make the choice that's best for you, that's going to move you forward, that's going to help you grow, that's going to help you take that next step um, forward towards your goals, and to not only better yourself, but better your family. And that's going to grow to to better your friends and also better this world. You know, it's something that I haven't really talked about in a while, although I know this business is changing the world and will change it more, but especially with what we have to offer right now, it's literally changing the world. Like, it is something that, again, like, has been the craziest, biggest aha moment for me, even though I know what we have to offer. But in this situation in time, you guys are here for a reason. Like, you guys are here for a reason. You're not just here by mistake. Like, you guys, I mean, I'm sure, Morgan, you have so many other people on your team that may not be on right now, but you guys being on right now, you're here for a reason, right? And I hope that tonight I said something to someone that has, you know, gave you guys an aha moment, or has helped you in any way, shape, or form. But also, you being on this team and in this company, in this point in time, in this second, at 10 or 11:01, I'm used to my 9 o'clock Zoom, 11:01, well, I'm in Eastern time, sorry. You're here for a reason, that's what I'm saying. So really think about that tonight, right? You can make two choices to take advantage, not take advantage, but in a positive way, you know, and focus on what you can do, what you can embrace, like I keep saying, what you can grow and just help people in so many ways. Or you can choose to continue to be sad, right? And that's something that, or upset or anxious. And like I said before in my story, that's something that I've been through and it freaking sucks. Excuse my language. So make that choice to grow through the hard times, because that's really what is the most important thing. And once you make that decision, that's really just the hardest part. But getting through it, you're not alone. You guys have amazing, like you have Morgan, you have Stephanie, Zoe, Maya, Katie, Brooke, Rachel. Like we all got this. We're all in this together.
I love that. That was perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. Sorry for putting you on the spot. But that was really good. And the other thing too is, you know, fear is not a bad thing. I heard Jade Hooper say this once. She said, fear isn't a bad thing. It can either cause you to take action towards your goals, or it can cause you to shrink back from your goals. And so if you are fearful right now, let that fuel you. Let that, you know, fuel you to say, I don't know what the future is going to hold. So I'm going to do what I can to control what I can control. And the other things that I can't control, I'm just going to let go. And so I love what you said. Thank you so much, Emily, for hopping on here with us. Everybody tell her thank you. This was so good. I know so many of us got all the good tips. All my chats are blowing up. My phone, I have so many text messages to go through. So thank you for being on here. I appreciate it. We're going to be praying for your wedding, that everything is just going to go so great and smooth. In June, it's going to be beautiful. So, thank you so much. Thank y'all for hopping on here. The recording will be posted